Hello, welcome to the Claret Blue podcast post-match reaction. I'm Dan Robertson, joined by Matt Kendrick, so close I can touch him and see him and smell him in every sense that you can't get across at YouTube.
I don't know what that sounds like. I'm really stinking.
No, you smell lovely, of course.
I'm promising that you'll touch me. I am touched. I'm touched that you've let me into your dad's man cave to film this in person, and we're going to do this regardless of the result. But it would have looked a bit off if we'd have lost 1-0, and you'd have seen us in glorious high definition. But at least we've got something spectacular to talk about.
Yeah, we'll start by saying don't expect this to be a regular thing. We've looked out really with the kick-off time, and our schedule's not really aligning for this evening, so we thought we'd meet up and do it in person. We didn't coordinate that we were going to wear the same training top but in a different colour. Yeah, here we are. We were going to do this regardless of the result, and I had this kind of pre-match anticipation that this would be a really difficult game, and I'd probably be pretty happy with a draw, even at home to Brighton, considering how the two clubs have been over the last 12 months or so. So to win the game, whatever the result, would have been a brilliant thing to talk about. To win it in that manner and score 6 goals it's unbelievable, isn't it? I almost feel a little bit speechless, which isn't great for a podcast.
Yeah, it did feel a bit surreal, didn't it? And even after 10 minutes, when they'd had a lot of the ball, I did think we were going to be in for a tough afternoon. I didn't think. I thought we'd draw. I know we don't do draws, but I thought we'd draw before the game. But we just seemed to get that momentum. I think I tweeted before we started recording this that I've got nothing to moan about except for the referee. So I don't know whether to get that out of the way now and then we can stay being positive, or whether we just introduce that in as a bit of a break from the feel-good factor along the way.
I mean, you can talk about the ref now if you want. The refereeing as a whole is poor standard, isn't it, across the league? And it's the inconsistency that's annoying, isn't it? You see things, not given in the same game, then given later in the game. Yeah. Certain players getting yellow cards, and then other players doing similar kind of fouls and not being booked. For Douglas Luiz to get his booking early on in the game and have to manage that, which I thought he did very well, by the way. That almost sets the precedent that maybe the ref's going to be card happy throughout the game, and then he isn't. Apart from when it's Villa players, is what it feels like. So yeah, annoying. So let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, it was frustrating. I think me and the fella sitting next to me, I think he finally produced a yellow card for a Brighton player. I can't remember who it was, and we got on our feet and gave him a standing ovation in a very sarcastic kind of old man kind of a way. But yeah, let's not dwell because despite having a referee who was not very good in my opinion, I thought Aston Villa were I thought we were going to have a hangover from Wednesday night, and I thought we'd be a bit edgy and a bit nervous, but I just thought we really took the initiative. And I think the thing that did it for me, obviously there's a lot of good moments after that, but just McGinn's pass for that first goal that almost kind of unlocked the door.
Yeah.
With greatest respect to Matty Cash, who I thought played exceptionally well as well today, giving him a very simple task. The ball was perfect for him, so all he got to do was knock it back across the goal for Ollie Watkins, and then that was almost like, oh yeah, we remembered we are pretty good, aren't we? We're good at Villa Park. Yeah. We almost that was the thing that. Yeah, okay, then we're back in gear, and it just kind of set the tone to build on, really.
I was curious to how we'd react to that Everton game, both the fan base and obviously on the pitch as well. After the Legia Warsaw defeat, we obviously come and go to Stamford Bridge and win there. And I thought, again, pre-match, that to bounce back from that Everton game and even consolidate here and get a 1-1 or a 2-2 or something would be a decent result to take into, obviously, Thursday night's Europa Conference League game and then Wolves away this time next week. To bounce back in that manner, and as I said, the performance and the goals and everything that comes with that, I feel like we've seen Villa kind of be better after a defeat under Emery and kind of maybe have a couple of defeats. I'm thinking back to last season, the Leicester, Man City, Arsenal run, coming out of that and being a little bit more pragmatic maybe and being solid defensively. This season we're seeing that when we are faced with troubles in terms of defeats, we almost come out all guns blazing and not blast teams away, although we did today, but earlier in the season, we then go to and beat Burnley 3-1 and we beat Palace 3-1. So, you kind of expect Villa to come out and maybe win 1-0 and just see out the game and be careful and cautious about it. To come out and still play the same way and kind of stick to our principles and put 6 past a very good Brighton side is testament to what Unai Emery has done over the last not even 12 months.
It's remarkable, really, when you say that he's not even reached his first year anniversary with us, but I think again it just reinforces the point We've got a very good 11, 13 core of players. That probably becomes a 15 if you've got some of your players who are injured with Mings and Buendia and Marino. But scratch beneath the surface, and we don't really have... I'm not saying we don't have quality in reserve, but we don't have that level of quality. It's almost... You've got almost like a kind of an 8 out of 10 first team squad, and then a kind of a 5 or 6 out of 10 reserves. So
I think as well what's interesting is with that reserve side, let's say, like somebody like Tielemans, if he was playing in the strongest side every single week, I think he would be able to kind of step up his game and fit in a little bit better. And that's, I'm only picking him out as one individual, because they're always coming in for the cold for one game and then out again for 4 and then in for 1. It's hard for them to find any kind of consistency anyway. But I do think that after that like first 13 or so, maybe the quality of the remaining squad isn't as good as we hoped it would be to compete on 4 fronts, and we'll talk about that Everton Cup game in a sec. But like I said, after it on Thursday, it's kind of forgotten a little bit. If you beat Brighton, I think the way we've won certainly eases some of those frustrations a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you can't undo being knocked out of a cup, can you? You can't get back in, but like you say, in terms of having an emphatic response, I don't know whether it's just years of being a sceptical kind of Villa fan, but myself and even my son, he's only 15, so he's not been subjected to it anywhere near as long as me. 3-0 didn't seem enough. You're thinking, well, hang on a minute, if anybody would have offered you 1-0 at half time, you'd have probably said that's favourable given what's preceded it in midweek. But I did fear the worst when they pulled one back, and it was almost, to me, it sounds silly because it's still got a good winning margin, but that next goal after that, which was subsequently scored by Ollie Watkins, that was the one that you could finally see that put them in their place. Yeah, you could see us kind of rise with that, I think. Yeah, I was thinking that, after the first half, you don't want to concede an early goal in the second, which we did. Was it 50 minutes, I think, off the top of my head? We'll talk about VAR in a second. I know we said we'll get the referee moans out of the way, but the VAR was irritating as well. They obviously get one back early, and then I'm starting to think, we know Brighton are a good side that can score goals. Most of their games this season have been 3-1s or 4-1s and that kind of thing. They score goals. So I'm thinking, we've had a great first half, but Brighton are going to come out stronger in the second. They could score 3 in the second half quite comfortably. They're very, very good. There was a stage where like the people around us are saying, and Brighton had a lot of the ball, didn't they, after their first goal, and it's like, we just need to get a foothold of the game here and get the ball for 5 minutes and keep it. And we had a bit of possession for, 30 seconds or whatever, and we score. Yeah. And it's like, all right, we don't need to keep hold of the ball for 5 minutes, let's just go and get another goal. Yeah. No, it was, I can't imagine that must be their worst. I've not been watching Brighton week in, week out, but that must be their worst performance this season. But that's not to take anything away from the way that we played. I thought we were pretty strong across the pitch, to be honest. I thought Konza and Torres did a good job. I've already kind of praised Matty Cash. I think the defensive unit completely, might as well put Luca Dean in there as well, was solid. And then, like you say, it was Douglas Luiz. It was a risky game for him, having what was he booked after about less than 10 minutes? 6 or 7 minutes, I think. So he was booked quite early on, and that was a frustrating one because yes, it was a foul, but their man's gone down and made a massive meal out of it. The referee's not booked him straight away. He's booked him when he's seen the injury or what he thinks is the injury. As soon as the yellow card's out, your man's back on his feet. So I think he managed that situation very well. There's a couple of times he stepped out of tackles and things, and you think he's clearly being hampered by the yellow card, but he's such a good player that to manage the game in the way he did and still put in the performance he did is testament to him and the improvement that he's had. Yeah, and I thought alongside him, we got McGinn back in the engine room, which is obviously a better place for him to be. And Kamara was very, no frills, but kind of very nuts and bolts performance, but very efficient. Yeah. And it was, been through the rest of the team, might as well talk about, Ollie Watkins will have his own special slot in a minute, I'd have thought, but I'm amazed Diaby didn't get on the score sheet, and he over-elaborated, didn't he, for that one, where he got a chance when he burst down the right and then tried to beat about 7 people, but I thought he was really impressive. And Zaniolo, the jury's still out for me on him, but I think when he plays on the front foot and he's really at it, I think the power of him, and that intent. I think he can be a good player as well.
I think he tries to do a little bit too much sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know. I've not really read much about him. I don't know how is he. I don't think he quite seems on the same wavelength. So I wondered if his English was.
I think his English is decent.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. In the interview I saw, he seemed to be pretty up to grips with it.
I won't blame that
then. I think his time will come. He's a very good technical footballer, I think, and he's clearly got something about him. We said from his debut, those kind of things. Good physical presence as well, which is something Villa don't have, and he kind of drags us up the pitch sometimes, and he's kind of got that powerful running style. But I think there's a couple of occasions where he maybe tries it. One turn too many or takes a touch too many when he could give the ball off quicker, but I think that's something that will come with time.
I don't know what it is, and it's not the way he plays, and I don't think it's even the way he looks, so I don't know why I'm coming to this conclusion. But when I glance at him, he's got a look, and this will be long before your time, he's got a kind of look of a kind of Ian Olney about him, not an Ian Ormondroyd who was like the kind of rake thin Peter Crouch one, but he's just got I don't know, I'd be interested for the older listeners and viewers to tell me I'm speaking rubbish in the comments, but it just kind of reminds me of him. But I don't know, I really, like I say, he doesn't play like him and he doesn't particularly look like him. So, as ever, an opinion from mine founded on absolutely nothing.
Yeah, fair enough. Speaking absolute nonsense, something that's been levelled at us a few times this season about Ollie Watkins. We were very, I don't want to say defensive, because that's not really the right word, but defensive about, there's a clip of me that did a couple of numbers on social media of his time will come, the goals will come, let's all just be patient a little bit. He's only scored against Hibs and he's not good enough, and the YouTube comments of, he'll cost us points and all these different things, and as each game goes by that he didn't score, it's kind of I wish I hadn't gone too big on Ollie Watkins, but his time has come now, hasn't it? He looks, I don't want to say back to his best, because I still think it's only a couple of good games, but scored the winner against Chelsea, scored the first two today, that sets us on our way to win the game. Obviously gets the hat-trick, 2 hat-tricks for him now this season. I saw a stat earlier on social media on the way back that it's the first Villa player to score 2 hat-tricks for ages.
Yeah, I've got the number. I think it was.
Yeah, I haven't got the number in front of me. Although Benteke scored a couple of hat-tricks, didn't he? That's the one in the same season.
It would have been the same season.
Yeah, anyway. He's very good, isn't he, Ollie Watkins? And I said before, not back to his best, because it's only been a couple of games. But today specifically, as much as the goals are there as well, I thought his all-round play was also very, very good today. And when we've spoken before about when he's not there, that you miss him, he is the presence, isn't he? And he's the focal point of a long ball or to drag a defender, and he is involved in anything that Villa do going forward. Ollie Watkins is there and is a big part of that.
Yeah, I don't know what comes first. Was it the confidence of scoring a goal fairly early and obviously scoring last week, the winner at Chelsea? Was it that's given him that lift and boost his confidence for his all-round game, or is that always there?
I think it's always there, but we don't notice it as much if he doesn't score.
If he wastes chances or doesn't score.
Yeah.
You could just see once he stuck the first one in, there was another opportunity before he scored the second one where you think he's been greedy there, but I'm glad he's been greedy because he's really backing himself.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got that kind of that hunger back. And even when he scored his second one, I thought there were. I've not seen it back, but I think there were 1 or 2 passes square where he could have squared that ball. But he wants it. He really wants. He's a centre forward, of course. He wants to score goals, but you could just see him grow in stature. Really, I'm thinking, what's he done that? What's he tried and hit that in the near post? Oh, yeah. And I fell out with. I wouldn't say fell out. Me and my son have these little tiffs, but. And I've kind of I've been digging him out on Twitter a little bit because he's so fickle about Ollie Watkins, and I think it was in the hat trick goal went in, and obviously the whole ground he's kind of Ollie Watkins, and I said Sammy, what are you singing this for? You don't, he's like, so if you can, I mean that's his greatest achievement, Ollie Watkins, getting my son chanting his name again, but thoroughly deserved, and it was I don't know whether you stay to the end or whether I don't mean stay to the end. I'm sure you stay to the 90 minutes but do you stay and
I stay for a bit of the celebrations? Yeah, probably a couple of minutes.
There was he was the one being interviewed. I think his man of the match award, I presume, and the match ball at the final whistle. So he had another little burst. Probably only a 20th of the crowd left in the ground, but we all wait.
Size of the crowd for the Everton Cup game, maybe.
That's it. Yeah, they didn't give a number for how many were left in the ground saluting Ollie Watkins. I was still waiting for that attendance to be released, but no, it was brilliant. And I think ever seeing that he's gone. I know we had the early kickoff, so this is subject to change, but I think he was second in the Premier League scorers table on the back of today.
Yeah,
whereas this time last week he'd gotten on.
Yeah. Funny, isn't it, how quickly football changes and our opinions change. I've just got his goals record here in front of me, and I don't normally do this on phone because we're normally on StreamYard. I just open a tab and no one knows I'm doing it. Ollie Watkins update, this is from Tom Nightingale on Twitter. 66 goal involvements for Watkins now in 127 games for Villa. 50 goals, 16 assists, 29 goal involvements, that's 21 goals, and 8 assists in 37 games under Emery. So almost a full season of football, or a full Premier League season of football for Emery. 29 goal involvement, and he's the first Villa player to score 2 hat-tricks in a single season in nearly 50 years.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and the stat that I keep banging on about is how many Premier League goals he's got, because I think that Premier League record is in sight. Depending on how the contract negotiations go, I think hopefully in the next few days, because I think listen, even before his 4 goals in the last kind of two league games, you've got to tie a player like that down. But yeah, I think I just worked out he got 44 goals, I think, in the Premier League, if my maths is correct, which, again, given that Villa until the last 8 or 9 months under Emery have been a team that's been battling relegation or consolidating the Premier League, I think that's a pretty good return. But I don't know whether this is me and my rose-tinted specs looking in the past, but I've seen and kind of adored from the stands some great centre forwards, kind of Dalian Atkinson, Dean Saunders, Juan Pablo Angel, Dwight York, so on and so forth. Dion Dublin, probably be, Benteke, we'd probably put even like Julian Joachim in that list. And I think whether it's because I find it hard now I'm a lot older man, to think that football is as good as it once was. Ollie Watkins has got to have his place in there now. In the Premier League era. Yeah, he probably already is in the top 3. Yeah. I don't know whether the goals would, maybe he hasn't quite, whether he has passed Dublin or whatever it is, but I think he's got to be up there. Yeah, and that's a massive tribute to him. Really.
And again, I come back to it earlier. I don't want this to be like I was wrong and other people are no. I don't want this to be I was right and other people are wrong, but this is what we expected from Ollie Watkins now, that if he plays 40 games a season, he'll get close to 20 goals in all competitions. He's a 1 in 2 striker, isn't he? And that's pretty good for where Villa are going to be. And if we're scoring another 3 goals specifically today from other players in the team as well, we're in a good place. So there's a lot of talk about he's not good enough or whatever, and you've got to replace him. But the same conversation is with who? If you're going to find a better striker than Ollie Watkins, you're going to struggle to get into Aston. You're going to struggle to get into Aston Villa without Champions League football and without spending 70-odd million. And I really need to clear my throat because it sounds like I'm about to cry. But he's a very, very good player. And if his contract negotiations are sorted, hopefully ASAP, and he's here for another 3 or 4 seasons in his prime, that Premier League goal record is coming, isn't it? He will get there.
Don't get too emotional, Dan. I'm sure they're going to try. I'm sure they're going to try and do the best to get him on a new contract. It's right. Sometimes we. It's one of those ones, and you see kind of like, so, let's say Arsenal linked with Ollie Watkins, and you're thinking, well,
if they want him, why aren't we happy with him?
Yeah. Listen, that's life, isn't it? And he probably won't now. Like, if Ollie Watkins is true to form, Ollie Watkins this might be a run of 6 games when he scores a goal. Let's hope that's the case. But if he doesn't, and he wastes a couple of chances and a couple of things get away, then that doesn't necessarily make him a terrible player again all of a sudden.
I was asked on social media before we started, are you now over the cup defeat on Wednesday? Does this kind of make up for it? And I asked you and John, I think in the show we did last week, if you could only win one, Everton or Brighton, which would you pick? And all 3 of us said we'd rather win Everton because you progress into the cup, and if you lose to Brighton, there's X amount of Premier League games left to go, 34 whatever it is, to make up the ground that you lost against Brighton. But John did say, us and Brighton are expected to be competitors for around the same positions. If you lose to them at home, that is a dent in your aspiration. So to beat Brighton would be massive, and it absolutely is. Has today softened any of the blow for Wednesday for you? I know you kind of said it's still, you can't undo it, but winning 6-1 at home after that, for me, it does kind of forgive it a little bit.
You can't undo getting knocked out of a cup until you play your next cup match, really. So that's the FA Cup in January now. So, I don't think that gets brushed under the carpet as a free hit in terms of, don't worry about it. But looking at the league table this afternoon and this evening, given that at times, I was probably overly critical against Palace because I thought we were very ragged against Palace, but we obviously found a way.
YouTube comments told us otherwise.
Yeah, we found a way to win that game. This is how much Emery has raised standards and expectations in less than a year. That we are. I mean, how many points we got now, Dan?
15, I think.
And to me, it doesn't feel. I mean, it should do today because we've been absolutely magnificent, but it doesn't feel like it's been an absolutely super start to the season. But in any of the, I'd include O'Neill's era in this. So I'm probably going back 20 years. Not probably am
15-ish,
15, 20 years. We'd have been absolutely overwhelmed and delighted at that start.
Yeah.
And I think we're proud, we're pleased, but we probably even think it's still a little bit undercooked.
Yeah. That
we should have gone to Newcastle and been better. We should have gone to Anfield and been better. So it's making us so greedy, isn't it?
I think there was a stage, and it's certainly before today, where I feel like our mood, either the podcast or the fan base or whatever, it's very up and down this season, despite the league form being, again, up until today, I was saying it was generally quite good. 1-4, lost the 2 that you'd expect. And that's pretty good going. 12 points, we're up and around in the top 6, which is where we want to be. Me and my dad were saying on the way back, I don't want it to be that we're like nowhere near it now and having to play catch up all season. I want us to stay where we are throughout the entire season now. I know it's a tall order, but that's the expectations that have been raised. I felt like we've had this really up and down approach to the season because you kind of win a game and then you get beat by Liverpool really badly. And then you win a game and you lose to Legia Warsaw, and you win a game and you lose to Everton in the Cup, and you're kind of really up and down. But you got to put that to bed a little bit because the group stage can be recovered. There's 5 more games to go with a big one up at Villa Park this Thursday. The Everton thing is gone now. Like you said, you can't undo it. The league form is very good. 5 wins out of 7. If you do that over the course of the entire league, is 25 out of whatever. Win a lot of games, wouldn't you, let's just say, and get a lot of points. And we've taken points now off Brighton, somebody who we expect to be up around there as well in incredible fashion, to the point that we've overturned a 10 goal? 10 goal swing, is it, in the goal? Yeah. It's a 10 goal difference swing over Brighton. The only reason we've gone above them is goal difference. Theirs was +10 and ours was +2 before today.
I can't do the maths, but
now theirs is +5 and ours is +7. Because obviously our goals have gone again into their goals conceded, isn't it, directly? So it's such a brilliant win. It has catapulted us above them, despite the great start to the season they've had as well. So I think now, when I've kind of talked about this up and down, for the league specifically, we've got to start be talking about it in this kind of upwards trajectory, because losses away to Newcastle and Everton aren't the end of the world, and a lot of sides will lose those games. It just felt bad because of the scoreline specifically, and obviously the injury to Mings on day one. Since then, we've beat the side you'd expected us to. Chelsea was a different test, despite them being what they are, because it's still Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And today was the one where it's like, okay, this is the biggest test since Newcastle and Liverpool, and we've come through it with flying colours and going to Wolves now, which is not a great place for us to go with plenty of confidence. And if we get something there, you're into the next international break, and Villa are flying.
Like you said, it's a bit of a dream, I suppose, but can we get ourselves tucked in that top 6 nice and early, so that almost 6th feels like a disappointment?
Yeah.
If we get, do you know what I mean? I know that is massively, kind of inflating kind of expectations, I think, really. But I think that has to be the aim. I've never known let's just forget about what happened on Wednesday. But I've never known Villa Park. You know, some of the records that we break in, was it 10 Premier League wins on the spin at Villa Park? And was it Douglas Luiz has scored in 5 consecutive games since Dwight York or whatever? Ollie Watkins scored 2 hat-tricks since Andy Gray or whatever in the 70s, and all these things tumbling, and yet it feels like it's the start rather than wow. You know, it should be wow, and I'm sure to a lot of people less cynical than me, it is wow. But I think you've only just got me going on the excitement scale. So, you know, there's plenty more to crank up if we can build on this.
We always say with this post-match show that I've not seen any of the goals back or anything like that, but I've seen a couple of quotes from the post-match stuff only because it obviously was broadcast on TV, so quotes already on Twitter straight away in the car on the way back. John McGinn said something similar, that there's plenty more gears we can go up. Yeah. And that is how it does feel. Yes, it's a great start in the Premier League now with 5 and 7, but you do feel like you're right. We are just starting to get going now, and that kind of bumpy road to the start of the season, we're hopefully through that. And again, it sounds stupid because Wolves aren't as good as Brighton, but next week is another big test because we're not good there. We're not good at Molineux. We're not good against a local rival. We've had some disappointing results at home to Wolves as well. So if we go there next week and win again, that again feels like a massive statement, and Villa have kind of got over that kind of bumpy patch, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really interesting week as well, because
Mostar as well on Thursday.
You know, we've got the European game on Thursday, and I think, you know, with respect to Hibernian, that's our first proper European football back at Villa Park, really. So will Emery think, well, actually, I quite like the look of that Premier League table. That's going to be my priority, and to keep that strong, you know. Villa clearly got ambitions. Champions League football is the next. You know, we know that Aston Villa wants to become a money-making machine. Ambitions on the top 4 is clearly the next thing. But Emery thinking, I can't allow for another Warsaw performance, or I can't allow for another Everton performance. I'm going to have to go strong here. This is where I think the management of his squad, keeping players happy, keeping them involved, making sure that they've got enough, that the ones around the fringes have enough minutes to stay competitive. I actually think that, you know, maybe in the January window we need to look at another couple of loans. I think to try and bolster that squad. I know we've got Zaniolo on loan. This is where Emery needs to really come into his own now, because keeping Villa in the Premier League has been enough of a challenge for his predecessors for the previous years. But he hasn't got 4 fronts to manage on now. He's got 3, sadly, with the League Cup disappearing. But I think it's going to be a really interesting test of what he thinks about. You know, does he think his fringe players, having let him down, if you like, and let us down in the last couple of games, does he think he can trust them? Because we can't afford to have another defeat in this group.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how we approach that game on Thursday, but we'll be having another podcast later in the week where we'll talk about it in more detail. But we need points on the board, don't we, in that group, to be honest. If Villa don't want an extra game, if they get past the group in the knockouts, they have to win the group as well. So, you know, Mostar beat Alkmaar, which is unexpected, so the group is kind of up in the air anyway. So Villa, Mostar, I don't want to get into it too much. Mostar look like they shouldn't be the best team in the group, despite being top at the moment. So Villa should have enough to beat them. But I said that against Everton, so I go as strong as you can, but with one eye on Wolves a little bit, thinking, well, if we win that, we might be in the top 3 in the international break, and that looks pretty tasty as well, and it's great for confidence and whatever else. Back to today, though, very quickly. We'll take Ollie Watkins as red, as being man of the match for obvious reasons. Besides him, is there anyone else you can pick out as a standout, or was it just a general kind of all-round team performance?
I did think Konza was good. I thought it was a game that showcased Torres almost as that footballing centre-half, stepping out. He tried to step out with the ball a little bit more. I tell you what,
dribbled, didn't he, as well at the end?
Yeah. I tell you what, listen, it's football, it's contact sport, but we just seem to, like, Ramsey's back, and then Kamara gets crocked, and then like Diab. There's a funny. This is probably a very funny, but kind of not very caring observation that I've got. I don't know whether so when Diaby walked down because he came off, and then he walked down the tunnel, got a kind of standing ovation as he walked down past the Trinity Road. I'm not kidding you. You know, if you go to IKEA or you order flat pack furniture and you get like a box that a wardrobe comes in or the wardrobe door, this kid had made a sign, the biggest piece of cardboard that you've ever seen, and it got like French flags on there, it had got Moussa on there and all these kind of things. And I think he must have been sitting with his dad like about 4 or 5 rows back in the corner of the Trinity by the tunnel. He's seen Diaby come down
injured
the touchline, hobble down, and he's tried to put this thing. And like Diaby, I don't think he deliberately snubbed him. He just, he's hurt. He wants to get in the shower or whatever, or get some treatment. And he just completely ignored him. And I've thought, you need to get yourself a bigger sign, mate. To be honest, honestly, it was the most spectacular piece of art I've ever seen.
We've talked about this a little bit before, these like signs and stuff about like how do we feel about them. I don't want to devolve this chat into a bit of nonsense, but when we did our confessions video, like the fan submitted confessions. In that, we ran out of time, but I was going to say like we all should have to like think of one as well. And mine was going to be that if I was a footballer, this sounds terrible. I'm not going to get so much stick for this. If I was a footballer, I'd deliberately ignore the people with those signs.
Give it to the person next to them.
I just don't like it. I know it's kids mostly, and that's fine. There's just something about it. I just think, do we need loads of signs in Villa Park? Like, give me your shirt. Like, I don't know. If I was a footballer, I'd go, nah, not you. I'll give it to you instead.
It was just the sheer size of it, to be honest. I thought he's really... I mean, I don't know how they've even got it through the turnstiles, but it was...
That's a great question, yeah.
Bless him.
Just quickly on another little nonsense point. This might make me sound stupid, which won't be unfamiliar to the podcast. You know when they read out the attendance, there's been a lot of like attendance gate this week, for want of a better word, that wasn't read out for the Everton game for mysterious reasons. Was obviously read out today, 40,000. Why do we applaud when they read out the attendance? Have you ever thought about this?
I don't know. I suppose
do we just do it because everyone else does it?
Is it not?
Well done, everyone, for turning up.
Pat on our own backs.
I don't know. I've always thought it was weird. Today, the attendance is 42,000. Why are we like? I don't know. I've always thought, what are we clapping here? I feel like it's just one of those things that because like everyone does it, we all just do it without questioning why we do it.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. Do you think? I don't know. But does it get any kind of different if it's 40,233 or if it's 40,121? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Yeah, I've always thought it. Anyway, one more football-related point before we call this a day. Jacob Ramsey being back is lovely to see. It's the first we've seen of him at Villa Park this season since his injury. Obviously, he wasn't involved on Wednesday night for, I think it looked like a little setback or whatever, but obviously he's back now. First of all, lovely to see him back in the side doing what he does, and to come back and get on the score sheet as well is excellent. What I love about that goal, and this is such a minor point in the grand scheme of things, a goal going in off the post, that little click sound.
Yeah, lovely, it was a sweet finish as well. I think it was probably my favourite goal of the six. Nice to have the choice, isn't it? Favourite goal of the six, but the finish was just inch perfect, absolutely spot on,
really good,
and. Just brings something different, doesn't he? I think we've said it before that there's not that many probably ball carriers in that team. Certainly not in midfield like Louise and Kamara like to make the ball do the work for them. Obviously McGinn can run with the ball and our wide players can run with the ball, and Cash tries to do that when he's set free. But I just think it brings a different dimension. There's a couple of times where he's carried the ball probably from our fullback area and got us up the pitch.
Yeah, had a great pass as well, didn't he, for somebody, can't remember who that was. Somebody third on the left, might have been Watkins.
I mean, he's brilliant, and I don't like advocating for Villa players to play for England because it normally means that you're trying to put him in the shop.
was there today.
Put him in the shop window and get rid of him. But for his age, he's such a brilliant talent, and we've spoken about Villa's academy before, but for us to get Jack Grealish and Jacob Ramsey within 10 years of each other. I know that sounds like quite a long time, but I think we've got two really, really well, we haven't got one anymore, but I think Ramsey's a brilliant player. It's funny you should say about Southgate being there. I think my son showed it me on Twitter or something.
The picture of him with
thought bubble coming out and saying, like Watkins scores that trick, and it's like, oh, Welbeck played well.
Yeah.
Which is.
I don't think Watkins will be in that England squad, but I don't know. Who knows?
Again, I'm not.
Doesn't really
From a
matter, does
selfish Villa point of view, I couldn't care less. From Ollie Watkins' point of view, I think he deserves it. But what did you? Actually, you weren't there on Wednesday night. I don't think were you. What did you think of the halftime?
Oh, the halftime game. Oh, my dad said when we got to halftime, he's like, "Oh, there's a new game," and I was like, "Oh, excellent! Yeah, something else to talk about on the podcast later." He said, "Oh, they did it against Everton. I got a score in the goal. I have to like get it in the corner to win an extra prize or whatever." I don't know what to say about this without coming across rude, but it'd be great if they could find somebody who could actually kick a football, wouldn't it? It's always somebody when they do these, so you just think they've never kicked a football in their life.
I think that's more fun though.
It is fun, like I suppose it is. Yeah, it was all right. I thought like it was like 2 minutes and I had to answer questions. And it was like the most basic questions ever. It's like,
I think those were the same questions that were asked
in
midweek as well.
Again, it was funny. I don't want to dig out the guy if he's watching it. I do apologise. The chances of that I feel quite slim. What year were Villa formed? It was like 1874, and they had to take a penalty and basically scuffed it. It's like, I think with those half-time games, it always seems like a lot of effort for not really much reward.
Didn't he say? Wasn't he asked who the League Cup winning captain was in 1996? And he said John McGinn. I thought he said John Gidman at first, which again would have been too far the other way.
Yeah,
but did you see what I tweeted about Prize Where It Lies?
Yeah, good. Do you want to repeat that joke for the
I do,
podcast?
yeah. Just because I'm giving it a big build-up now. I was just suggesting that Prize Where It Lies has become something that's just in the corporate lounges now. Somebody replied to me saying, "Yeah, but they play it with a prawn ring and a canapé," which I thought was quite amusing. I'll tell you the one thing. The good thing about Prize Where It Lies, it's got a name.
Yeah.
Whereas this,
just scoring the goal after a quiz.
I think what I like about this one more than the Holton one is it is in the centre, because I'm in the Trinity towards the tunnel. At least you feel more involved in it, but it does seem a little bit like kind of infant school sports day when you bring a couple of hoops and beanbags and that kind of thing.
Me and my dad always say even when it's Prize Where It Lies and they get the big thing on, it takes them 10 minutes to set it up and then like two people have a go and it's like, oh, what's the point? Are we done? Is that enough, do you think? Or was there anything else you wanted to discuss?
I think so. I don't think the only other thing was, did you see Austin McPhee's header?
Oh, very good.
I thought that was the showman McPhee. I thought that was good.
Speaking of McPhee, that little set piece routine was good as well. That was really unlucky, and I suppose the talking point there is, should it have been a penalty? I haven't seen it back yet.
I haven't seen that one back.
It looks like Dean's going to take a free kick from 30 yards or so. I think Louise is next to him. Dean runs away. Somebody comes back and they like roll it around and chip it over and a nice ball across. And
then Diallo gets cleaned out by the goalie.
By the keeper, and it's given us a free kick to the Brighton keeper. And it feels like one of those things, and the few people around me said it, that it's one of those ones where there's any kind of contact between a forward and the goalkeeper usually gets it, they go down, it's a free kick to the keeper. I've not seen it back, and it might have been that, but at the time it felt like Diaby had been wiped out, and why have we not had a penalty? But yeah, nice little routine there. And I saw somebody on Twitter say like that Emery just said at the start of the season to McPhee, just do what you want. For set pieces, do whatever you like this season, and we're seeing the impact of that.
There's been some inventive set pieces though from us, to be fair.
Yeah.
So no, it was, like I said, there's very little to moan about, which for a man like me who made a living out of moaning, it doesn't leave me with much material. But no, I loved it.
Really
loved
good,
every minute of it, and it was a perfect response to a really flat midweek, and got me looking forward to going to Villa Park again on Thursday night. So
yeah, likewise. If you've enjoyed this video, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and consider subscribing to the Claret Blue YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, leave us a 5-star rating. They really do help. Matt, thanks for coming over and joining me. Like I said at the start, don't expect this to be a regular thing, although if we win 6-1 every week, maybe
what do we do? Whenever we win 6-1, we've got to do it now.
Okay, alright, deal. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again very soon.
Up the Villa.